At 56, Phil Mickelson's wife, Amy, secured an emergency court order locking him out of their San Diego estate. This isn't drama. It's the complete collapse of one of golf's most beloved marriages. Amy locked the six-time major champion out of his home, and the woman who stood by him through cancer now holds the legal hammer. And honestly, the sheer audacity makes my blood boil. Regular families struggle to keep their homes, yet a multi-millionaire golfer gets locked out of an $8 million estate by his wife. It's a stunning fall, proving beloved athletes can destroy everything they built. A man who withdrew from the Open for his cancer-stricken wife now cannot step foot in his own house. But look past the outrage. Amy isn't just an angry wife. She's quietly taking control. She forced Phil out of his country club and made him sell his condo. Now she secured a court order ending his access to the family home. Let me show you what Phil did, how Amy is dismantling his world, and what this means for golf's most famous marriage. Personally, I think Amy did what she had to do. But did she go too far? Tell me below. And if real golf stories with no filter are what you're here for, subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. To understand this shock, you must understand Amy. She isn't a headline-chasing celebrity wife. She stood beside Phil through the highest highs and lowest lows, staying out of the spotlight. Amy McBride met Phil in 1992. She was a Phoenix Suns cheerleader. He was a rising golf star. They married in 1996. For 30 years, she became the foundation of everything he built. While Phil collected 6 major championships, Amy managed the family, raised their 3 children, and kept their private life private. Amanda, Sophia, and Evan grew up in the shadow of their father's fame. Amy was their constant presence while Phil traveled for tournaments. She attended every school event, every parent-teacher conference, and every milestone, ensuring the children had a normal life despite their father's global fame, doing it all without complaint. Then came 2009. Amy was diagnosed with breast cancer. Phil shocked the golf world by withdrawing from the Open Championship to be by her side. Everyone praised him as the devoted husband putting family above fame. Amy fought her battle with incredible strength, beating the cancer. The battle changed Amy. She realized life is fragile and family is everything. She thought they had survived the worst thing that could happen. She had no idea something far worse was coming. That story of devotion has now been completely rewritten. The woman who survived cancer and supported Phil through every triumph has taken the most drastic step of her life, securing an emergency court order to lock her husband out of their home. Amy stood by Phil through cancer and career highs and lows, but the woman who never broke now holds the legal hammer. What could possibly make her turn on the man she married? Now look at the man at the center. Phil Mickelson was once golf's most beloved figure. The smiling champion won 6 major championships, including 3 Masters, and built a fortune over $200 million. His career highlights are legendary. He won his first major at the 2004 Masters, then claimed 2 more Masters titles, the PGA Championship twice, and the Open in 2013. He won the PGA Championship again in 2021 at age 50, becoming the oldest major winner in history. That Kiowa Island victory was supposed to be his crowning achievement. Instead, it was the beginning of the end. In 2022, Phil became the face of LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed league that tore professional golf apart. He left the PGA Tour for millions, leaving furious fans feeling betrayed. The ambassador became a pariah, accused of selling out and chasing money over legacy. Fellow players and media condemned him, and his reputation crumbled. To really grasp the magnitude of this collapse, you have to look at the bridge Phil burned when he defected to LIV Golf. This wasn't just a career move. It was a complete severing of ties with the institution that made him rich. When Phil became the face of the Saudi-backed league, he didn't just leave the PGA Tour. He left his peers. He left the USGA. He left the very ecosystem of professional golf that had celebrated him for 3 decades. The traditional golf establishment viewed his departure as the ultimate betrayal. We are talking about a man who was supposed to be the ambassador of the game. Instead, he became the poster child for greed in the eyes of the purists. The PGA Tour players were furious. They saw Phil taking hundreds of millions in guaranteed money to legitimize a breakaway circuit, while they were fighting for standard purses and FedEx Cup points. The locker room turned cold. When Phil showed up to the few majors he still played in, the warmth was gone. Fans who once cheered his miraculous recovery shots now booed him on the first tee. He was entirely isolated. The golf world operates on relationships, and Phil had cashed in every single one of his. He thought the money would insulate him. He thought the sheer scale of the LIV Golf payout would make the backlash irrelevant. But money can buy you a golf league. It cannot buy you respect from the people who actually play the game. This isolation left him vulnerable. When the personal scandals started to break, there was no one in the golf establishment willing to defend him. The very people who would have issued statements of support for a fellow legend were the same people he had alienated. He had built a fortress of cash, but he had no allies left inside the walls. His game fell apart, and in 2026, he stopped playing altogether. He missed the Masters, the PGA Championship, and the Open. For the first time since 1994, he didn't play in a single major, citing a vague family health matter. The timing was suspicious. Just as allegations surfaced, he had a convenient health excuse. The golf world started asking questions. When Phil cited a family health matter to explain his sudden disappearance from the 2026 major championships, the golf world was highly skeptical. The PGA Tour and the USGA have strict protocols for medical withdrawals, but Phil's team was incredibly vague. They didn't specify which family member was ill or what the nature of the health matter was. In the past, when Phil stepped away, it was usually for a very specific, transparent reason, like Amy's cancer battle. This time, the opacity felt like a smokescreen. Insiders started whispering that the health matter was actually a cover for the escalating personal issues at home. The timing was too perfect. Right as the rumors about his behavior at the farms started to circulate among the San Diego golf elite, Phil suddenly had a family emergency that kept him off the golf course. It allowed him to avoid the media scrum at the Masters and the US Open. It allowed him to dodge the questions about his LIV golf commitments and his fading game. But in the modern golf media landscape, you cannot hide behind vague statements forever. The lack of transparency only fueled the speculation. When you are a six-time major champion, your every move is scrutinized. By not giving a clear answer, Phil essentially gave the media permission to fill in the blanks, and the blanks they filled were far more damaging than any health issue could have been. It showed a man who was no longer willing to face the music, a man who was hiding from the consequences of his own actions. That fall from grace would have destroyed any reputation, but the real damage wasn't happening on the golf course. It was happening behind closed doors. The Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe was Phil's home course and sanctuary. But in the spring of 2026, everything fell apart. A female employee accused Phil of inappropriate physical contact before a round. She reported it, and the club investigated. While Phil was in the middle of a round, management confronted him and told him to leave immediately. He didn't finish. He was escorted off the property like a stranger, and the club made it permanent. Phil Mickelson was banned from his own home course. Phil's attorney, Tom Clare, is a well-known attorney who has represented high-profile clients before. His aggressive defense was predictable, claiming the employee's account was contradicted by objective video evidence, but even he could not stop the story from spreading. The facts were out, and Phil's ban was undeniable. The incident at the Farms Golf Club needs to be understood within the context of elite country club culture. This is not a public municipal course where you can just pay a green fee and play. The Farms is a highly exclusive, deeply private enclave in Rancho Santa Fe. The members pay exorbitant initiation fees and wait years for a spot. It is a place built on discretion, reputation, and strict behavioral codes. When a female employee came forward with allegations of inappropriate physical contact, the club's board of directors was put in an impossible position. They had to weigh the reputation of a six-time major champion against the safety and comfort of their staff and membership. In these environments, the rule is simple: protect the institution. The investigation wasn't just a casual chat. It was a formal review of the employee's claims, likely involving interviews and a look at the club's internal security footage. When management confronted Phil in the middle of his round, it was a calculated, executed decision. They didn't wait for the police. They didn't wait for a public trial. They used their private authority to remove a liability. Being escorted off the property mid-round is the ultimate humiliation in this world. It strips away the VIP treatment, the special tee times, the deference he was used to. It sends a message to every other member that no one is untouchable. Phil's attorney, Tom Clare, tried to spin it by mentioning objective video evidence, but in the private club world, the board's decision is final. You don't appeal to the court of public opinion when you've been blacklisted by the country club. The ban meant he lost his practice ground, his social network, and his daily routine. For a professional golfer, losing your home course is like a surgeon losing access to their operating room. It completely disrupts your ability to function in the sport. Being banned from his home club was humiliating. But that was just the first domino. What came next would expose a pattern of behavior nobody saw coming. Veteran journalist Alan Shipnuck published the devastating report after months of gathering evidence and verifying claims, shaking the golf world. The first allegation involved a phone scheme. Sources said Phil would pay a pro shop employee $500 to drive his phone around the course for hours. Amy was tracking his phone, thinking he was golfing, while he sneaked off for secret rendezvous. He also handed his phone to other members to hide his whereabouts. Eventually, everyone at the club knew, and Amy found out. The planning required to execute this deception was staggering. He had to coordinate timing, ensure the phone kept moving, and trust employees to keep his secret, all while pretending to be the devoted husband who withdrew from the open for his cancer-stricken wife. For Amy, this calculated choice felt like the ultimate betrayal. Then we have the Alan Shipnuck report for Scratch Golf, which acted as the catalyst for the public explosion. You have to understand the history between Shipnuck and Mickelson. Shipnuck isn't just some random blogger. He is a deeply embedded golf insider who has covered Phil for years. He wrote a biography on him. He had access. When Shipnuck started digging into these allegations, the golf media knew it was serious. The report didn't just drop rumors. It laid out a systematic, documented pattern of deception. The phone scheme detail was particularly damaging because it showed premeditation. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a logistical operation. Paying a pro shop employee $500 to drive a phone around the course requires coordination. It requires a willingness to corrupt the very staff that is supposed to facilitate your game. It shows a level of entitlement that completely shattered his remaining goodwill. The golf media, which had largely protected Phil during his early career, turned on him with a vengeance. The narrative shifted overnight from the lovable, aggressive left-hander to a calculated manipulator. The details about the Madison Club condo and the allegations involving Ashley Perez added layers to the story that made it impossible for his public relations team to contain. Every new detail was a fresh wound. The media cycle was relentless because the story had everything: massive wealth, elite country clubs, secret rendezvous, and a betrayed wife who had survived cancer. It was the perfect storm for sports journalism, and Phil was caught directly in the center of it. That level of deception takes planning and effort, and it wasn't the only secret Phil was keeping. The next revelation would make the phone scheme look minor. The report also revealed what happened at the Madison Club in La Quinta. Phil had a condo there with bachelor pad vibes, allegedly using it to cheat on Amy and host other women. The Madison Club is an exclusive desert community where wealthy people escape. Phil's condo there was more than a getaway. It was where he lived a double life. When Amy found out, she didn't just get angry, she took action. She demanded their wealth management firm sell Phil's place immediately and cancel his membership. It happened. The condo was sold, and Phil was forced out of yet another club, this time by his own wife. A third allegation involved Ashley Perez, then wife of PGA Tour golfer Pat Perez. Phil allegedly showed her an explicit photo of himself in 2015 and propositioned her. This wasn't a one-time mistake, but a pattern of behavior stretching back years, devastating for a fellow golfer and friend. Amy had already forced Phil out of one club and made him sell his condo. She was just getting started. Amy chose strategic silence, letting the allegations and Phil's actions speak for themselves while the world drew its own conclusions. On July 23, 2026, Amy was photographed shopping at a Trader Joe's in San Diego. The viral photo showed something specific. Amy wasn't wearing her wedding ring. 30 years of marriage, and she had taken it off just days after the expose. Removing the ring was a clear public declaration that the marriage was in trouble. Her spokesperson stated, Amy was offering her unwavering love, believing people are measured by what they do to make things right. But the ring was off and legal action was underway. Amy was done being the silent wife. Amy had taken away his clubs, his condo, and his dignity, but she still hadn't taken the one thing that mattered most. The next move would hit Phil where he lived, literally. Then came the emergency court order. The Rancho Santa Fe estate is the family home, bought in 2001 and now worth an estimated $8.1 million. It is where they raised their children and where Amy fought her cancer battle. It is the physical embodiment of their marriage. Amy secured an emergency court order locking Phil out. This means a judge saw enough compelling evidence to grant immediate, urgent action. While exact details remain sealed, the existence of an emergency order tells you everything. This wasn't a casual marital dispute. It was a woman using the legal system to physically remove her husband. The man who was once golf's king has been locked out like a stranger. Now, let's break down the legal reality of the emergency court order, because this is where the story moves from gossip to hard legal consequences. In California, which is a community property state, both spouses have an equal right to the marital home, regardless of whose name is on the deed or who paid the mortgage. The $8.1 million estate in Rancho Santa Fe, sitting on 4.55 acres, is legally considered joint property. For Amy to secure an emergency order locking Phil out, she had to prove to a judge that his presence in the home posed a risk, or that the situation was so volatile that immediate exclusive use was necessary to maintain the peace. This is not a standard divorce filing. This is a drastic legal maneuver. Her legal team had to draft the petitions, gather affidavits, and present a compelling case to a family court judge to grant this exclusive use order before the actual divorce proceedings even concluded. Judges do not hand out these orders lightly. They require a high threshold of proof. The fact that a judge signed off on this means Amy's lawyers presented evidence that was highly persuasive and deeply concerning. It means the allegations weren't just tabloid fodder, they were substantiated enough in a legal setting to warrant removing a co-owner from his own residence. This order essentially freezes Phil out of his primary asset. He cannot go back to pack his bags. He cannot access his personal belongings without a court-appointed supervisor or a specific legal agreement. It is a total freeze of his domestic life. The financial implications are massive. He is still responsible for the mortgage, the property taxes on a 9,500 square foot mansion, and the upkeep of 4.55 acres of prime California real estate, but he cannot sleep under its roof. It is a brilliant, ruthless legal strategy that puts the financial pressure entirely on him while securing her physical safety and peace of mind. The court order was the ultimate symbol of Amy's power, but this story isn't just about a house. It's about what happens to a legend when everything he built crumbles. Where does Phil go from here? His career is over. He missed every major in 2026, his sponsors are damaged, and his marriage is heading toward divorce. LIV Golf, the league he helped build, is also in trouble, facing a $1.23 million lawsuit. His PGA Tour departure was supposed to be his payday. Instead, it's his downfall. Amy was lied to and humiliated, but now she holds the power. She forced him out of clubs, sold his condo, removed her ring, and locked him out of their home. And through all of this legal and public warfare, you have to consider the impact on Amanda, Sophia, and Evan. These three children have had their entire lives broadcasted to the world. They grew up watching their father win green jackets, but now they are watching him lose his marriage in real time. Amanda, born in 1999, is old enough to understand the legal filings and read the media reports. Sophia and Evan are navigating their own paths, but the shadow of this scandal follows them everywhere. Amy has always been the protective shield for these kids. She kept them out of the spotlight, ensured they had normal school experiences, and insulated them from the golf world's craziness. Now, the shield is gone. The public nature of the phone scheme, the country club bans, and the emergency court orders means their family trauma is being consumed as entertainment by golf fans. Amy's actions, from removing her wedding ring to locking Phil out of the house, are not just about her own survival. They are about drawing a hard boundary to protect her children from further embarrassment and instability. She is controlling the narrative by controlling the physical environment, ensuring that whatever happens next, it happens on her terms, away from the immediate reach of the man who compromised their family's foundation. Looking ahead, the long-term damage to his legacy extends far beyond personal relationships. The USGA and the R&A have quietly removed him from future ambassadorial roles. When the Ryder Cup returns to the United States, his name will not be considered for captaincy. The PGA of America has distanced itself from his charitable foundation. These institutional doors are closing permanently. He spent 30 years building a brand that transcended golf, creating a safety net of goodwill. Now that safety net is gone, leaving him exposed to a sport that forgives bad shots, but rarely forgives bad character. This is about what happens when a legend falls. Behind the charm and 6 major championships was a man living a double life, lying to his wife, and destroying 30 years of trust. Phil had talent, fame, money, and a loving family. He threw it all away through bad choices. Golf fans are divided, but for many, Phil is a cautionary tale. Fame and money mean nothing if you lose the people who love you. Amy didn't wake up to destroy her husband. She fought back to survive. The emergency court order is a woman protecting her family. The mask has slipped. The real Phil Mickelson is on full display. The man who paid kids to hide his phone and got banned from his own club. Fans will remember the incredible shots, but they will also remember the betrayal and the emergency court order. Phil's story is a warning that success cannot protect you from your own choices. Some trust cannot be rebuilt. And if real golf stories told with no filter are what you're here for, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.